I'm going to show you how to do slip stitch, and I'm going to show you that with appliquing a shape onto my base fabric. So in this case, I'm just going to be stitching on this white felt triangle, and I'm going to put a pin in there to stop it from wiggling around when I'm stitching. And then to do slip stitch, you want to bring your needle up through both layers of fabric, just a little way into the shape to start off with. And then you're going to bring your needle back down just through the base layer of fabric. And don't forget to fasten on your thread as you go so that your stitching doesn't come undone. But then you're going to repeat this. So bring your needle back out through both layers of fabric and back in just through the base layer. And so this is really good when you're sewing on fabric that doesn't fray. So felt doesn't fray, so it doesn't matter that I've got a raw edge showing, but it can be a really good alternative to blanket stitch. So if you're finding blanket stitch a little bit time consuming or a little bit difficult, then switch out to slip stitch, much easier and much quicker. But if you are sewing a fabric that frays a lot, I would still recommend that you use blanket stitch, because blanket stitch gives you an extra line of thread that runs along the edge of your shape, which helps hide some of the fraying. But just keep working your way along like this, coming up through both layers and going down just through the base layer. And once you get to a corner or you need to change direction, just make your stitches a little bit smaller, because that will allow you to maneuver your way around the shape. And then once you're done, just fasten your stitching off. So I'm just going to weave it under some of the stitches that I've already done. And then trim your thread. And then I'm also going to show you how you can use slip stitch to join two pieces of fabric together. So I've got this piece of felt here, and I'm just going to fold it in half so that I'm joining these two sections. And I'm going to put a pin in it again so that it doesn't slip around. And because I'm using felt, I'm just going to knot the end of my thread, because what I can then do is I can put this inside the join. So bring your needle up just through one layer of fabric, and that will hide your knot from view. And then for slip stitch, to join two pieces of fabric together, you want to bring your needle up from the reverse of the fabric, and you'll get your stitch that loops over the edge, and then you just keep repeating this. So your needle always comes up from the bottom, and again, keep your stitches nice and even for a neat finish. I'm using a contrasting thread here so that you can see the stitching as I go, but you can make sure that you're using a thread of the same colour if you don't want your stitches to be this visible. And then once you're done, you can again bury that thread through one layer of fabric. So bring your needle back up for the final time, just through the bottom layer. And then this time what we're going to do is we're going to create a tiny stitch that doesn't go through to the front of the fabric. So I'm just going through half the depth of the fabric. And then I can loop my needle through this stitch twice, which creates a nice secure knot so it doesn't come undone. And then I'm going to trim that off. And as you can see, that's joined that edge. And so that's slip stitch.